hadn't planned on going home for Christmas that year. It wasn't some dramatic, screw the holidays decision. I was just tired. Work had been a lot, life had been even more, and I wasn't in the mood for forced smiles or family politics. I told my parents I had year-end deadlines and a client breathing down my neck, which was technically true. But really, I just didn't feel like pretending I was doing fine. Then my sister Emily called. 2 days before Christmas Eve. She didn't even say hi. Mom's already put your stocking up. Dad's made like 5 comments about you not showing up. You're coming home. I sighed into the phone. Not asking. I'm picking you up from the station tomorrow. She hung up. And that's how I ended up dragging a half-zipped duffel bag through the train station the next morning, sleep-deprived and slightly hungover. I figured I'd show up, eat some ham, do the Christmas thing, and get out before anyone started asking about my love life, or lack thereof. That was the plan. Then I met Owen. It was Christmas Eve, around 8 p.m., right after dinner, when my parents' annual small gathering of family friends kicked off. Same as always, cheap wine, louder than necessary laughter, and half the neighborhood crammed into the living room pretending to love eggnog. I was hiding out by the fireplace when the door opened, and in walked this guy. He shook snow off his jacket, revealing a flannel shirt, dark jeans, and one of those smiles that made you feel like he knew something you didn't. "Hey," he said, catching my eye as he stepped inside. "Hey," I replied, a little slower than necessary. He held out a hand. "Owen, I'm staying with the Bennetts next door." I took his hand, maybe a second too long. "Max, you're not from around here. Is it that obvious?" "Yeah," I said, grinning. "You look like you own a French press and believe in oat milk." He laughed, and something about the way he looked at me felt intentional. We ended up next to each other on the couch. The conversation just kept flowing. Movies, travel, shitty bosses, the weird way small towns feel stuck in time. He told me he was a freelance photographer. I told him I worked in tech. He made fun of my sweater. I made fun of his city shoes. It felt easy. Too easy. Later, after most of the guests had left and the music had been turned down, we were outside on the porch. Snow was falling slow and thick, catching in his hair. "You don't come home much, huh?" he asked. "Not really. I live in the city now. Visiting feels weird." "I get that." I turned to him. "What made you come here? Middle of nowhere at Christmas?" He smiled, eyes soft. "Was supposed to be in Arizona with my sister. Her boyfriend got COVID. I didn't feel like spending the holidays alone. The Bennetts invited me. I almost said no. But you didn't." "Yeah," he said, looking right at me. And now I'm glad I didn't. Something about the way he said it made my chest tighten. I looked down at our boots in the snow. Then I felt his hand brush against mine. Just a brush. Then again, this time more deliberate. "You want to walk?" he asked. "In the snow?" He grinned. "Come on, we're dressed for it." So we walked. Down the sidewalk, across the old park where I'd skinned my knees as a kid. The world was still and muffled, like we were in a snow globe. I kept glancing at him, half expecting him to pull away, to make a joke, to break the tension, but he didn't. And somewhere between the corner where I had my first kiss and the field behind my old school, I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I reached out and took his hand. And he held it, like it was the most natural thing in the world. We didn't talk much after I took his hand. We just walked, slowly, silently, through streets half buried in snow. Our breath hung in the air like smoke, the only sound coming from the crunch of our boots and the occasional wind brushing past bare trees. It wasn't awkward. It was something else, something thick and electric that made my fingers tingle where they were laced with his. It should have felt strange. I'd just met him. But somehow, it didn't. It felt like the first moment I'd been really here in months. Eventually, we reached the end of the neighborhood trail that looped behind the elementary school, and Owen tugged gently on my hand. "Let's head back before someone sends out a search party." I nodded, but I didn't let go. Neither did he. The walk back felt shorter, or maybe I just didn't want it to end. When we reached my parents' driveway, the house was quiet. Most of the lights off, except for the ones blinking on the Christmas tree through the living room window. We stopped at the front steps, snow collecting in our hair, our cheeks flushed from the cold. Owen didn't say anything at first. He just looked at me with that same slightly crooked smile, like he could see through every wall I'd built since college. "I guess this is where I head next door," he said, voice low. "Right," I said. But I didn't move, and neither did he. I looked at the front door, then back at him. Something in my chest was beating fast and wild, like a bird trying to escape. "You want to come in for a bit?" I asked. He raised an eyebrow. "You sure?" I hesitated. "Everyone's asleep. We can hang out for a while. Just talk." Owen smiled. "Yeah, I'd like that." I unlocked the door as quietly as I could, and we crept inside like teenagers sneaking in past curfew. The living room smelled like pine and cinnamon, the leftover scent of whatever candle my mom had burned earlier. The tree glowed softly in the corner, casting gold and green reflections across the walls. We sat on the couch, farther apart than we had to, like we were both pretending we hadn't just held hands for the past half hour. Owen leaned forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the twinkling lights. "You know," he said after a while, "I haven't felt that kind of quiet in a long time. That walk." "Yeah," I said before he could finish. "Me either." He turned to look at me, and there was this moment, one of those moments where the room feels tilted and every breath you take sounds too loud in your ears. I knew I should have looked away. I didn't. His voice dropped a little. "Are you single?" It wasn't flirty. It wasn't even bold. It was like he was just checking. I nodded. "Yeah," I said. "Long time now." "Same." More silence. Then, barely above a whisper, "Would it be weird if I kissed you?" I didn't answer with words. I just leaned in. The kiss wasn't fast or clumsy. It was slow. Like he wanted to give me time to stop him, and I wanted to give myself time to believe it was real. His hand moved to my cheek, warm against skin that still tingled from the cold. I kissed him back, feeling something sharp and sweet open up inside me, like unwrapping something I hadn't realized I wanted. When we pulled apart, neither of us spoke right away. We just sat there, forehead to forehead, breathing in the same space. I felt like the world had shifted under me, like the holiday lights had rearranged themselves into something that finally made sense. Owen was the first to speak. "You're not going to pretend that didn't happen, are you?" I smiled. "No, I don't want to." He looked relieved. "Good." I walked him to the door a few minutes later. He paused, halfway out onto the porch. "Can I see you tomorrow?" he asked. "It's Christmas." "I know," he said, stepping back in close. "That's kind of the point." And then he kissed me again. Quick this time. Like a promise. When the door clicked shut behind him, I stood in the dark hallway for a long time, hand on the knob, heart still racing. I'd come home expecting to survive another awkward family holiday. I hadn't expected Owen. I woke up on Christmas morning with that weird in-between feeling like I'd dreamed something so vivid. I wasn't sure if it had really happened. But then I sat up, stretched, and caught a glimpse of the beanie Owen had left behind on the couch last night. So yeah, definitely not a dream. I stared at it for a long second before getting up. It was still early, barely 7 a.m. The house was quiet. Snow was falling again outside, light and slow like powdered sugar. I could hear the faint hum of the heater and the creak of the floorboards as I padded into the kitchen in socks. The smell of coffee was already in the air. Emily was at the counter in her pajamas, pouring 2 mugs. She turned and froze when she saw me. Then her eyes flicked to my face, and she smirked. "You look different," she said, handing me a mug. "What does that mean?" I asked, playing dumb. She raised an eyebrow. "Did something interesting happen after I went to bed?" I took a long sip of coffee. "Define interesting." She squinted at me, leaning on the counter. "Is that Bennett's?" Guest still staying next door? I gave her a look. You're not subtle, you know. Nope, she said, unfazed. You didn't come upstairs until like 2 a.m. Just saying. I shrugged. We went for a walk, talked. And that's it. She stared at me for a beat, then smiled. You're a terrible liar. But whatever. I'm glad you're not moping this year. I rolled my eyes but didn't deny it, because she was right. I wasn't moping. For the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't wake up feeling like I had to brace myself for the day. After breakfast and a painfully long session of opening gifts and pretending to love a new set of socks, I slipped away and texted Owen. You up? He replied instantly. Been up. Can't stop thinking about last night. Meet me? We decided to meet at the park, the same one we'd walked through last night. It was colder now, but the snow had stopped and everything looked postcard perfect. He was already there when I arrived, sitting on the swing set like some nostalgic movie moment. Hey, he said, standing up as I walked over. Hey. I was nervous. Not in a bad way. Just aware of him, of how close we'd gotten in a single night, of how much I wanted to kiss him again, and how weird that felt after only knowing him for 24 hours. He broke the tension first. So, do we talk about it? About what? I said, teasing. The snow? The awkward gift exchange at my house? He grinned. About us, or whatever that was last night. I'd like to, I said honestly. He nodded, looking relieved. Good, because I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. I looked at him, unsure how to respond without sounding like a total dork. I haven't either. We stood there for a minute, both of us shifting awkwardly in the snow like high schoolers figuring out how to flirt. Then Owen's voice dropped a little. Look, I don't want to make this weird. I know I'm not staying long. I'm flying back to New York in 3 days. But last night felt like something, and I don't want to pretend it didn't. I exhaled slowly. It was something. And yeah, I know it's fast, and we're on a deadline or whatever, but I don't care. I want to see where it goes, even if it's just for a few days. He stepped closer. You sure? Positive. Then I kissed him, this time in daylight, in the middle of a snow-covered park, while the world was quiet and soft all around us. It wasn't a passionate kiss. It wasn't hot or frantic. It was slow, careful, like we were both taking our time because we knew time was short. And that somehow made it better. When we pulled apart, he was smiling. You want to come back to mine? I asked. Family still distracted with turkey and old VHS movies. Yeah, he said. I'd like that. So we walked back together, shoulder to shoulder, laughing about the way Christmas always smells like nutmeg and overly ambitious kitchen disasters. And for the first time since I moved out years ago, coming home didn't feel like going backward. It felt like something beginning. The house was still buzzing when we got back. Emily was in the kitchen singing along to some Mariah Carey remix while my dad tried to fix a crooked ornament on the tree. My mom was FaceTiming with my aunt in Florida and narrating the entire Christmas morning like a sports announcer. I slipped Owen in through the side door. We crept upstairs like kids sneaking booze, and when I closed the door to my old bedroom behind us, everything went quiet. Not the house, but us. Like the noise faded out the second we were alone. My room hadn't changed much since high school. Old posters. A desk with a drawer full of crap I never bothered to unpack. The twin bed was made with flannel sheets that had snowflakes on them. Very on brand. Very not sexy. But Owen didn't laugh. He sat on the edge of the bed and looked around like he was seeing some younger version of me in every corner. This is wild, he said. You used to sleep in this room thinking about your future. Now I'm here. I sat next to him. Yeah, back then I thought I'd be married by 25, working some startup job in San Francisco. He looked over. And now? Now I'm 28, overworked, underpaid, single, and kissing strangers in public parks. He laughed, soft and real. You think I'm a stranger? I looked at him. No, not anymore. There was a pause, the kind that makes you nervous in a good way. Then he leaned in, slower this time, and kissed me like he wasn't in a rush. Like he wanted to remember how this felt, in this moment, in this house, in this tiny room that smelled like clean laundry and pine. I kissed him back, and it wasn't just a kiss. It was want. The kind that grows quietly, the kind that sneaks up on you and hits you like warmth and cold air. His hands moved to my face, my shoulders, then down, tentative at first. Mine found his waist. We weren't fumbling, but we weren't smooth either. It wasn't about being slick or knowing all the right moves. It was about now. We pulled away eventually, breathless. Foreheads pressed together. "You good?" he whispered. "Yeah," I said. "Better than good." He grinned, then fell back onto the bed. "Your sheets are very festive." "I'm very festive." We lay there for a while, side by side. Not touching, but close enough to feel it. The buzz of the house felt far away, like we'd slipped into a different bubble of time. "I haven't done this in a long time," he said suddenly. "What, snuck into a guy's childhood bedroom on Christmas?" He gave me a sideways glance. "No, I mean, this. Let someone in." "Let myself want something like this." I nodded, staring up at the ceiling. "Yeah." "Same?" And then, quieter. "I've been kind of numb lately. Work, routine, going through the motions. Coming home was supposed to just be a box to check. But then, you showed up. I wasn't supposed to be here either," he said. "My flight got canceled, and the Bennetts invited me at the last minute. I almost said no. I hate feeling like a third wheel during the holidays. But you came." "I did," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "And now I'm lying on a snowflake blanket next to a guy the first kissed under a swing set." I laughed, and he laughed, too. We lay there, still and warm, as snow kept falling outside, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel like I had to plan my next move. I just wanted to stay in that room. With him. With this moment. Because something about it felt worth holding on to. We must have dozed off, because the next thing I remember was the sound of Emily banging on my door. "Max, you alive? We're doing hot cocoa and love." "Actually downstairs, so unless you've eloped with Santa's twink cousin, get your ass down here," I groaned, sat up slowly. Owen blinked awake beside me, hair messy, face creased from my pillow. For a second, we just looked at each other, sharing that dazed, half-sleep, half-dream moment. "You okay?" I asked, my voice still low and husky from the nap. He nodded, smiling. "Yeah, that was really nice." Another knock. "You better not be ignoring me for closeness," Emily shouted. Owen laughed. "Your family's really subtle." "Oh, they have no filter," I muttered, rubbing my face. "Come on, we should go down before she kicks the door in." We shuffled downstairs like two teens trying to act casual, even though I was pretty sure I still had Owen's shirtlint on my sweater. My mom raised an eyebrow when she saw us, but didn't say anything. Emily, however, grinned like a cat who just found the canary in my bed. "Hey, Owen," she said pointedly, patting the seat next to her. "You're staying for the movie, right?" "Sure," he said, sliding onto the couch like it was no big deal. I took the spot next to him. I didn't realize how close we were sitting until our knees brushed. The whole room smelled like chocolate and cinnamon. There were 5 mugs of hot cocoa, each with an irresponsible amount of whipped cream, and my dad was already 30 minutes into his yearly rant about how no one in Love Actually has any real boundaries. It was cozy, stupidly cozy, like a scene from some Instagram post captioned "Home for the Holidays." Except I kept thinking, this has an expiration date. Owen was leaving in 2 days, and I couldn't shake the feeling that this whole thing, this perfect little snow globe bubble, was going to shatter the second we got back to real life. I think he felt it too, because somewhere between the airport proposal scene and Emily's third emotional sigh, Owen leaned in and whispered, "Can we talk later?" I nodded. Later turned out to be around midnight. The house was dark again, everyone tucked away in their post-movie comas. I walked into the front door, and we stepped out onto the porch, bundled up in hoodies and quiet thoughts. "You okay?" I asked. He nodded, hands in his pockets. "Yeah, I just didn't want to let this get weird." "It's not weird," I said, "unless you make it weird." He smiled at that, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I don't know what this is, Max. I don't know if it's just the holiday, or the snow, or US. I don't either," I admitted. "But I know I don't want it to end when you leave." He looked up at the sky, then back at me. "I'm not good at long distance. I've tried. It's hard. People always start strong, then fade out. Life happens. Calls get missed. Feelings cool." I nodded slowly, heart sinking even as I tried to stay grounded. "So, what are you saying?" "I'm saying I don't want to promise something I can't keep," he said, voice careful. "But I also don't want to pretend this wasn't real." We stood there, silence stretching again. Finally, I stepped closer. "What if we don't figure it all out right now? What if we just take it one step at a time?" He looked at me. Really looked at me. Then he nodded. "Okay," he said, "one step at a time." I kissed him goodnight on the porch, slow and soft. And even though I didn't know what would happen next, I knew this wasn't just a fluke. It wasn't just Christmas magic. It was something real. And for now, that was enough. The next morning felt heavier, even though the sky was clear and the sun was bouncing off the snow like something out of a winter postcard. I found Owen in the kitchen, already dressed, already packed. His duffel bag was by the door. "Hey," he said, like he hadn't just flipped my stomach upside down. "Hey," I replied, pouring myself coffee, pretending I wasn't immediately calculating how many hours we had left. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "I figured I'd get everything ready so I'm not scrambling tomorrow." Tomorrow. That word hung in the room like fog. I nodded, sipping my coffee. It tasted bitter. "Want to do something today?" I asked after a beat. He smiled, soft and tired. "Yeah, let's get out of the house. One last little adventure?" "Let's drive," I said. "Anywhere." An hour later, we were on the road in my dad's old Jeep, tires crunching over frozen pavement, heading nowhere in particular. We ended up at this spot I used to go to in high school, an overlook just outside town where you could see the river curve between the hills like something out of a painting. We sat on the hood of the Jeep, bundled in jackets, shoulders touching. The cold didn't feel sharp anymore, just honest. "I used to come here when I didn't know what the hell I was doing," I said, breaking the silence. "Still don't," Owen said, nudging me gently. True. We sat like that for a while, not talking, just watching the light shift over the trees. Then Owen reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I wasn't going to give this to you," he said. I looked at him. "What is it?" "A letter. I wrote it last night. I thought maybe I'd just leave it on your bed or something." "Chicken out of saying stuff to your face." I took it from him slowly. "You want me to read it now?" He hesitated. "Yeah, I think I do." I unfolded the paper. His handwriting was messy but careful, like he tried to make it look casual, even though every word had weight. "Max, I didn't expect this. Any of it. I didn't expect to feel like I've known you longer than 2 days, or that your laugh would keep popping into my head when I'm trying to sleep, or that I'd want more time. So badly it actually aches. I don't know what this is. I don't have a plan. I just know that something about you makes me want to try. Even if we mess it up. Even if it's hard. You make me feel like I'm still capable of something good. And that's rare for me. Thank you for that." I read it twice, then a third time. I didn't realize I was gripping the paper until my knuckles went white. He was staring straight ahead, pretending not to watch me. So I slid off the hood of the Jeep, stood in front of him, and said, "Hey." He looked down, and I kissed him. Not like the other times. This one wasn't slow or soft. It was full. Full of everything I didn't know how to say back. Full of every reason I didn't want to let him go. When we pulled apart, he exhaled shakily. "That's a good answer," he whispered. We stayed there until the sky turned pink and our fingers went numb. The next morning, I woke up early. I didn't want to, but my body knew. The light was different. Too pale, too final. The kind of light that says, "This day will change something." I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying not to think about the clock. But it was ticking anyway. Owen's flight was at 11:30. We'd agreed I'd drive him to the station. It would take 15 minutes. 15 minutes in a car, trying not to overthink the last 72 hours of my life. When I came downstairs, he was already dressed, standing in the hallway by the door. His bag sat neatly beside him. He had one glove on, the other hanging from his hand like it didn't want to go. "Hey," he said, offering a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Hey," I said, and that one word felt too small for everything I wanted to say. My mom gave him a quick hug, polite and warm. My dad awkwardly patted his shoulder. Emily, of course, pulled me aside as he stepped out to the porch. "You good?" she asked. I looked at her and didn't say anything. She nodded. "Okay, text me." When we got in the car, Owen didn't turn on the radio. We just sat in silence as the snow fell gently over the windshield. The roads were mostly clear, but the world still felt muffled, like it didn't want to watch us say goodbye. We pulled up to the station. It was quiet. Just a couple people standing around in coats, holding coffee cups, waiting for their own goodbyes. Owen didn't get out right away. Neither did I. He turned to me. "This is where we say something profound, right?" "I don't have anything profound," I said. "Good," he replied, "because if you did, I'd probably cry." We both laughed, but it felt thin, fragile. He reached over and touched the side of my face with a tenderness that made my throat tighten. "I meant everything I said in that letter," he whispered, "and I meant it again when I kissed you yesterday." I swallowed hard. "You don't have to go." He smiled. "Max, I know you do. But still, I wish I could stay longer," he said. "But I'll be back in New York for a while. And you're here," I nodded. "We don't know how this works, I get it. But I want to find out," he added. I blinked, looked at him. "You do?" "Yeah," he said. "I don't know what that looks like yet, but I want to try." He leaned in, kissed me gently, like something unfinished. Then he pulled back, opened the door, and grabbed his bag. I stepped out too. Just as he was about to walk away, he turned around. "One step at a time, remember?" "Yeah," I said. "Step one," he smiled. "I'll call you when I land." And then he was gone, just like that. But the weird thing was, I didn't feel empty. I felt full, like something had started, like something had changed. Like the kind of Christmas you don't forget, not because of the gifts or the snow, but because of a moment on a couch, a walk through a park, and a kiss under lights that weren't meant to last forever. But some things do last, even if they start in the middle of winter, even if they begin with just one night.